Exactly 258 weeks ago, this post announced the arrival of Ratan Tata on social media. The reclusive conglomerate, very Indian and very global, was a rare gem in the social media, loved and embraced by the youth. He wasn't there in the most common and public social media platforms like Twitter turned X or the Facebook. But it was Instagram that suited Dr. Generian. His young friend and the youngest GM of Tata Group, Shantanu, 1/4 of his age, taught him how to be social in the virtual world. Well, he did take it by storm. In 258 weeks, with 67 posts, most of which had more than 1 million views, he had 10.6 million followers, but followed only 2, Tata Trust and Small Animal Hospital, Mumbai. It sums up the man himself. He was a very private man who led India's topmost business house to multi-million-dollar profit benchmark. He was handsome, loaded, intelligent, but a bachelor. Yet never lonely. His body aged, but not his mind. His friends grew old and young became his pals. He was, and always will be, India's Ratan.
Ratan Tata was a Zoroastrian Parsi born and brought up in Bombay in colonial India. He grew up and made his name a brand in independent India's maximum city, Mumbai. Born to Naval Tata, he was blood related to the Tata family but a distant relative. Ratan Tata's father, Naval Tata, was adopted by the youngest son of legendary founder of Tata Group, Jamsetji Tata. This adoption of 1908 changed everything. Ratan Tata's father, adopted son of R.J. Tata, worked his way up from the lowest rank to become deputy chairperson of Tata Sons and then chairperson of Ratan Tata Trust. He taught his eldest son the same lesson with which he grew up, a humble beginning and working one's way up through the conglomerate to lead it one day. Posted 220 weeks ago on Instagram, Ratan Tata remembered his first visit to Jamshedpur, the birthplace of Tata Group. He was on a college holiday and much before he started working on the Tata steel floor. Jamshedpur is mourning his demise. Ramnath Sharma remembers working with young Ratan Tata in the late 60s.
It is in 1967. As a young man who had returned from Cornell, he came to Jamshedpur, and from here he came to Jamadova, where I was the chief mining engineer. After 10 years I came back, and first as a managing director of tin plate, then vice president of Tata Steel, and it is that time again we got in touch. And over a period I knew him well, and we worked together in many things. We talked, chatted. Every time we went to Bombay, I would spend time with him and just chatted. Human being is someone who possibly had all the qualities of humility, of working, of consideration, of care and concern for others, everything that you would expect. And at the same time, he had a vision to grow, and from what did he do? From 5 billion to 100 billion growth. That was his vision, to grow, grow, grow. And he used to tell us, either you be number 1 or 2 or wipe out. You cannot exist without. And that's exactly what he worked on.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for...
And one simple example I'll tell you is humility. I was down in Bombay house, waiting for a vehicle. He came down. He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "The hotel." He said, "My car has not come. First let me get in, drop me at the house." In a rented car, he quietly went in and dropped him at the house. That is his humility.
1962, Ratan Tata was fresh out of Cornell University. armed with a bachelor's degree in architecture, more than ready to enter and learn as he would rise from the lowest rungs in one of India's most hallowed industrial houses. Ratan Tata was 25 when he entered the offices of the National Radio and Electronics Company Limited at Andheri in Mumbai. 9 years later, he was the director in charge of the company, and a decade later, the chairman of Tata Industries. In 1991, he succeeded J.R.D. Tata as the chairman of the Tata Group. Though he had the magic surname, young Ratan had a tough act to follow. That of his predecessors, Jamsetji Tata, Dorab Tata, and finally the iconic J.R.D. Ratan Tata took on the challenge, and by the time he retired in December 2012, Tata Group's financials spoke loud about the impact he had. During his tenure, the group's revenues grew manifold, totaling over $100 billion in 2011-12.
He did the things that were so necessary for the Tatas. He took over in 91, soon after liberalization, and it was very critical in that decade to prepare the Tata Group to take on competition, both domestic competition as well as the entry of international companies that are coming to the Indian market. And once he had cemented the ability of Indian companies in Tatas to really compete, he then encouraged them to go overseas in the next 10 years of his chairmanship. And that saw tremendous growth of the Tata Group from a $10 billion group that was largely Indian to a $100 billion group that had made a name all across the world by the time he retired in 2012. So I think both as a human being and as somebody who was a role model, I think, for business persons around the world, I had this fantastic privilege of having worked closely with him.
Ratan Tata identified the opportunity which the liberalization of the Indian economy provided and began restructuring the Tata Group in 1991. Under his leadership, the group acquired high-profile international brands like Tetley Tea, Daewoo, Chorus Steel and Jaguar Land Rover. He was also the man behind Tata Nano, the company's small car project, which he hoped would give wheels to the middle class. The journey, however, was not easy and tested his mettle at every turn. First, he had to deal with the satraps, a legacy left by his uncle, J.R.D. Tata. Rusi Modi lorded over Tata Steel. Darbari Seth was the final voice at Tata Tea and Tata Chemicals. Ajit Kerkar was the force behind Indian Hotels. And Nani Palkiwala was the man behind ACC. Each considered these companies their fiefdoms and looked at Ratan Tata as another outsider they had to deal with. 6 years after taking over as the Tata Group chairman, all four of them resigned.
He really enjoyed being with young people. And I think it's also had something to do with the fact that he was a very young person, in a sense, in the boardroom of Tata Sons when he took charge of the Tata Group. All his peers around the table were people who were 2 and 3 decades older than him. And I think that made him quite sensitive and conscious about the fact that young people need to always be supported. And later in life, of course, we all know the huge hand he's had in supporting many entrepreneurs and very young startups of this country.
Tata also wielded the broom on several companies. He exited cement, textiles and cosmetics and focused his energies on software, telecom, finance and retail. Finally, after serving as the group chairman for 21 years, Tata retired in December 2012. He had spent 50 illustrious years with the Tata Group. His employees were his trusted lieutenants, his extended family, who could ask for help, advice, and depend on him.
Well, the very first interview, in a sense, to join his office that I had with him, I had a master's and a doctorate, but in social sciences. I did not have an MBA. And I remember telling him, Mr. Tata, are you sure that I will be able to support you well in your office? I was to start as his executive assistant and eventually became his principal staff officer. And I said, I don't have an MBA. Is that going to be a problem for you? And he said, Mukund, the only thing you need to succeed in the corporate world is good common sense. And that's something I repeat so many times to youngsters these days.
मैं टाटा का एम्प्लॉय हूँ पिछले 20 साल से, ठीक है। और ये कोविड का जो मुश्किल टाइम था, वैसे तो इतने बड़े महान विभूति के सामने मैं बहुत छोटा आदमी हूँ अपनी बात रखने के लिए, बट जो मेरा पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस है, कोविड के मुश्किल टाइम में हमारी जो जॉब के ऊपर कुछ प्रॉब्लम आई थी, तो फैमिली पूरा प्रॉब्लम में थी। तो मेरी बिटिया थी छोटी, उसने मुझको देखा कि मेरी सिचुएशन ऐसी है, तो उसको पता था, छोटी बच्ची को भी, रतन टाटा एक ट्रस्ट है, उसको फ़ोन करूँगी तो काम बन जाएगा। तो उसने गूगल से सर्च किया रतन टाटा जी का नंबर जो एसटीडी वाला था, उस पर कॉल किया। एक बार नहीं मिला, दूसरी बार ट्राई किया, सेकंड टाइम में उन्होंने पिक करके बोला कि आपके पास कॉल बैक आ जाएगा। तो भाग के मेरे पास आई और उसने बोला कि पापा आपके पास कॉल बैक आ जाएगा। आप बिलीव करना, संडे के दिन 8:45 बजे सुबह को मेरे पास फ़ोन आ जाता है कि विकास त्यागी, यू कैन से योर वर्ड, जो प्रॉब्लम है वो बताइए, और अगले 3 दिन में मेरे पास में अगला ऑफर आ जाता है। तो ये था टाटा, ये टाटा है।
He was a humble man who believed in wearing old clothes despite being a multimillionaire. Ratan Tata was an Indian who only wanted his country to keep spreading its wings with humility, empathy, and dignity. After his retirement at the age of 75, he handed over the baton to Cyrus Mistry, the son of Palonji Mistry, of the Shapoorji Palonji Group, which was the largest individual shareholder of the Tata Group then. But the two fell out soon. It turned ugly and Ratan Tata made a comeback as interim chairman in 2016. A selection committee was formed with Ratan Tata as a member to find a successor. Natarajan Chandrasekharan was selected. He was 53, then roughly the age in which Ratan Tata himself became the chairman. Ratan Tata loved youth, their enthusiasm, and he never fell short of encouraging them. The last 12 years saw him emerge as an angel investor, blazing a path of success as a startup investor. Tata had over the years invested in several successful startups. As he famously said, and I quote, "I view these investments as a learning experience," unquote. Ola, the company which started as a cab aggregator, then became India's largest e-scooter manufacturer. Paytm, India's largest e-payments app with a presence in every nook and corner of the country. Snapdeal, one of India's earliest e-commerce success stories, all received a financial nudge from Ratan Tata. As chairman emeritus of the Tata Sons, the 86-year-old oversaw a corporate empire spanning over 150 countries. The group valuation as in August was around 34 lakh crore rupees. But Ratan Tata himself never entered any billionaires list. He did, however, ensure a bunch of others did become one. Among the other big startups Tata invested in are big brands like Lenskart, an internet-first eyewear brand, Urban Company, an app-based platform for household services, Car Dekho, a company offering research and trading in cars, First Cry, an online retailer of baby products, Moglix, a B2B marketplace of industrial goods, Upstock, an online equity trading platform, Traxon, an intelligence platform for market data, CureFit, online platform for fitness and wellness services, Zivame, an internet-first brand for women's apparel, Ampere Motors, a manufacturer of electric vehicles. These were only among the more than 40 startups catalyzed by Ratan Tata. It was not just financial help that he offered. The founders got a large helping of his deep market and industrial insights as well. He was the man who headed Tata Trust, and many NGOs benefited from his support.
A fantastic business person. He did the things that were so necessary for the Tatas. He took over in 91, soon after liberalization, and it was very critical in that decade to prepare the Tata Group to take on competition, both domestic competition, as well as the entry of international companies that are coming to the Indian market. And once he had cemented the ability of Indian companies in Tata's to really compete, he then encouraged them to go overseas in the next 10 years of his chairmanship. And that saw tremendous growth of the Tata Group from a $10 billion group that was largely Indian to a $100 billion group that had made a name all across the world by the time he retired in 2012.
Cancer cure and treatment was another pet project of Ratan Tata.
It really is a day that cancer, which is not a rich man's disease, is being equipped to serve and treat the millions of people that are inflicted.
His philanthropic nature earned him friends. One such friendship grew over his other love for dogs. Shantanu Naidu, a fifth-generation Tata employee, first caught Tata's attention through his social initiative, Motorpaws, which makes glow-in-the-dark collars for stray dogs. Tata, a known dog lover, wrote to Naidu after seeing his work in a company newsletter, inviting him to Mumbai. This mutual love for animals blossomed into an extraordinary friendship. Their bond grew stronger over time. Shantanu Naidu went to Cornell University, Tata's alma mater, for his MBA. Upon Naidu's return, Tata offered him a role as his business assistant in 2018. Naidu also introduced Tata to Instagram in October 2019, showing him the ropes of hashtags and trends. They shared a bond rooted in respect, affection, and a deep understanding of one another. Shantanu rode ahead in his bike, leading his dost, Ratan Tata's hearse, in his last journey. There was another group of Ratan Tata's friends. Like Goa, who came to attend his funeral, the distressed canine mirrored the love all other furry friends had for Ratan Tata. Because he was the man who ensured strays were always welcome even in his popular Taj hotels and at the Bombay house all day long. From his young days to the very end, Ratan Tata was accompanied by his most loyal friends, and he always prioritized them. Back in 2018, he was to receive a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award from the British royal family, but he chose to skip the event because one of his dogs fell sick. That one incident speaks volumes of what his pet dogs meant to him. Tata's vision of a full-fledged animal hospital came to life when the small animal hospital was inaugurated last year, again showcasing his commitment to providing care for creatures who cannot speak for themselves. The tycoon, the philanthropist, the man who was a friend for the young and innocent, was given a farewell that he deserved.
State funeral being given to Ratan Tata.
जीवन ऐसा था कि वहाँ से बहुत कुछ है जो हम सीख सकते हैं।
बहुत ही रेयर किस्म के इंसान और हम सब उनको बेहद मिस करेंगे।
एक बहुत बड़े मन का व्यक्ति आज हमारे बीच से चला गया है। देश के लिए ये बहुत बड़ा नुकसान है।
रतन टाटा जी हमारे में नहीं रहे, ये बहुत ही वेदनादायी दुखद घटना है हमारे लिए।